I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me.
Welcome, everyone, to District Divided, a DC sports podcast, more specifically, a Washington Commanders podcast. I am Amit. That is K-Dot. Before we begin this recap video of the Miami Dolphins Washington Commanders game, we'll tell you how it went in just a moment. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. Comment as you always do. And K-Dot,
share this shit.
Please do. And in this particular situation, you don't need to share the score with your friends that aren't Commanders fans. It was 45-15 at our place at FedEx Field. Miami won. And Miami looks like they won pretty handily. It is now time for me to admit I had a pretty busy Sunday and did not have the time to catch the game. But by the time I was free at 3 p.m. and available to see the game, it was 38-7. So this is a bit of a unique situation where normally I have seen the game or at least have had the time to watch it on replay or something like that. Get out. What happened?
Well, I would say, we did the pre-pod. We did the preview episode. This team.
Yes, I do.
This Dolphins team. You watch Hard Knocks.
Yes, I do.
What do you think happened?
I think exactly what you and I said happened when I saw the score. The Dolphins got to do whatever they wanted on offense. The Dolphins defense is looking for respect and looks like they got it. I did manage to see Sam Howell throw his only touchdown pass of the day to Andrew Van Ginkel. Hell of a throw. So I think it went about the way we thought it would. Dolphins defense wanted some respect. Dolphins offense is what it is. The only thing that surprised me was an hour before the game when it was revealed that Ron Rivera actually gave a lot of the responsibility to Christian Garcia, 29-year-old on the DB staff. I feel like he saw the tape and was like, you know what? Throwing this on Christian. That is what I think, which is honestly kind of funny. That's all I got.
See, take a moment, everybody there that's dropping comments and you're watching the video right now. You need to go in there and you need to drop some love to this podcast professional Amit who correctly said everything about the game without watching the motherfucker. I'm sorry, like props to you. Watching the game was a waste of fucking time. Dude, yeah, it was a shellacking. Like it was it never feels good when the backups come out. And but we were never really like there were moments early on where like you can look at the defense and say, oh man, the pass rush was getting there to a certain degree, but then you're like, what did we talk about? We talked about Tua getting rid of the football faster than anybody else in the league. And the times he was getting sacked, he just wasn't releasing the ball. There were guys clearly open, but he wanted the home run.
0 sacks, by the way.
Right. He wanted the home run, and it was like he was just doing it to toy with us. I have never seen a quarterback laugh as much as he did during a game.
He was laughing.
Dude was having he's on like I watched some Miami games, and I know I'm watching Hard Knocks right now.
Right.
But I know Tua's he's a fun guy, right? He's got that I think Samoan Hawaiian blood type thing going on.
Yeah, he's trying out the cornrows right now, depending on where you are in Hard Knocks.
Right. But he was just they were having a blast, man. Like I've never seen that. They just felt casual, and the speed was just second to none. Like even in those moments where it's like, all right, is the defense kind of holding up? Is defense holding up? Then you have the moment where Tyreek Hill would just take the top off the fucking defense, like the 70-something yarder that he got early on in the game. And it's like, you knew right then and there, we're not now.
I have a question for you. Was that, so that was a 3rd and 2 on their first drive.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know the game was already over when he caught that?
I knew the game was over before that happened, but yeah.
Wow.
But I mean, we knew going in, like we knew that this was not like the only thing that was like, all right, it was rainy all morning. What's the field going to look like? That didn't fucking know. Like Tyreek Hill had a couple slips, but that was about it. And it was only slips because he was contorting himself back to the ball in some weird fucking way. It would have slipped anyway. Yeah, man, it was an absolute shellacking. Like on offense, we couldn't get anything going. I give credit to Eric Bieniemy, in one regard over the course of the season, which is that he's become a little more comfortable running the football. 7 carries for Brian Robinson. He goes down with the injury. Antonio Gibson had 10 carries. Chris Rodriguez had 7 carries. Sam Howell kept it for 4 himself. Sam Howell looked good when he was running the football too. But then there's like, okay, you're running the ball more. That's a good thing. But then you also see that the rhythm of when it is you're running completely takes everything out of whack. If you're throw on first down and get that incompletion and don't start, you're leaving into a situation where it's either obvious passing or obvious running downs, and it's.
So let me ask you this. So we finally got some balance on offense, at least in terms of the numbers, right? 24 rushes to 23 pass attempts.
Sort of.
It's not necessarily the dropbacks, but
yeah.
It
also gets skewed at the end because we gave up. And
fair
we were
enough.
trying to run the clock out.
Of course. And I mean, you take that into account over, if you were to do an average over many, many games, giving up is part of the noise that gets factored in. The question I have here is, so I'm looking at the box score again, did not see the game, but like, I heard the Terry McLaurin comment about getting cardio in on 3 targets, 0 catches on the day. Curtis Samuel, Antonio Gibson, Jahan Dotson, Cole Turner, De'Ami Brown, 1 catch, 0 yards. What the heck happened there?
So the De'Ami Brown, it was the slant on the goal line. He just caught it and basically fell into the end zone. He barely caught it, but yeah, no gain. He was just touchdown. Terry is, like we've talked about, Terry looks invisible in this offense. He just looks invisible. Like I didn't really see, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, in the comments, but I didn't really see him have too many really good opportunities to catch anything today. There was one throw that I was surprised that Sam Howell even got it off, because Sam Howell has some of those throws. He has them every game where you're like, God damn, how the fuck did he do that? But Terry never really had a shot. He was double covered in that one. It's just there's nothing for him in this. The guy who shines the most in the sense of what it is they do with him and his involvement in the offense is always Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel seems like this year to be the guy that shines more than anybody else. And I think that has much more to do with the movement that they have on a pre-snap and who it is they're lining up against them. Because he's not looked upon as the first wide receiver. So it's just that there's a talent deficit compared to who it is that he's covering. That's not to take away from Curtis Samuel. He's had an amazing season to the point at which, like, we were all sort of good with him leaving this offseason, but I actually think that, like, I mean, I wouldn't keep him for the dollar amount, but it's just
fair enough. But like, when we've talked about this offense, it's Terry McLaurin, it's Jahan Dotson. Like, that's where the buzz was. So when you see Curtis Samuel 4 catches, 65 yards, it's good for Curtis. Glad we're getting some production, obviously.
Yeah.
But in terms of our go-to playmakers, I mean, Jahan, 2 catches, 23 yards. 5 targets.
They're not funneling him the ball. That's the thing
so let me cut you off here. Sorry. Is Terry defeated? Just is a fan podcast. We can go off of what we see.
I told you that
saw the game today.
3-4 weeks ago.
So you were definitively like, hey, this is.
I told you, yeah, I've been like, I'm reading. Me and you had the conversation where I was like, compare Terry to the day that he shows up to Eric Bieniemy's press conference to whatever you last saw. There's a difference. There's just a difference. Like, this team does not, it's not, look, you don't have to have rah-rah guys. That's not necessary. There were even moments where, I'm going to be completely honest, I'm not one of those people that I understand coaches yelling at a motherfucker. Like, I'm fine with it. My coaching style, I don't give a fuck what it is you're doing work-wise, from fucking insurance to graphic design or anything I've done in my fucking life. I'm cool with getting yelled at if it needs be. There's a certain mentality, especially when you're playing sports. It's cool. But there were some moments you see Eric Bieniemy trying to get the guys fired up on the sideline this game. The camera was on Eric more than I've seen since like week 1. Because they know their storyline. There's a storyline there. And it looked awkward as shit. It just looked awkward to me. It looks so awkward.
I will say this. We talked about it on the preview show. We talked about it in the Del Rio episode where he was let go. Rivera made it abundantly clear, K-Dot. Abundantly clear. This offense is 100% Eric Bieniemy's. There is 0% input from Ron Rivera himself. Yeah. So but having that clarified, right? I think people knew, but having that clarified and a direct quote of that. And now we have this game. I think that certainly puts even more of a spotlight on Eric Bieniemy, where there was that little stretch where Sam Howell was playing really, really good ball. And we go, hey, Eric Bieniemy could be a thing over here. And now here we are. Feels like night and day.
He's still a thing.
Okay.
I don't think that's changed. I think that like people are, because of the way the season has gone as far as the record, the sacks, I mean, the through lines on what the issues have been as far as the Eric Bieniemy offense have been through lines throughout the entire season to me. The Ron Rivera comments about Eric basically having his own thing over there. We've been on this pod how many times saying that Ron Rivera does nothing. Like, what do you do? So we know that he's not involved in anything, right? There were certain aspects of the defense I'm actually going to give Ron credit for today that I thought they looked in certain areas better than I have seen them look previously. It's just even if you're shoring up certain things or there's certain fundamentals that are getting better, Jim Davis had a good game overall. He had some like shine out moments. It's just not, it's too little too fucking late. And even keeping Jack Del Rio around is on you. So you don't get credit for needing to take it over. Like it's what it is.
Understood.
Yeah, man, it's just but the Eric Bieniemy thing specifically, those problems have been through lines throughout the entire season. The fact that the players look more dejected and checked out as the course of the season is going on, that can speak to a lot of stuff. The everybody's heard everything in the media as far as the starting in training camp where you had some players had an issue with the way that Eric Bieniemy was talking to them or whatever, right? To now you have people you have the rumbles that are the players wish that he didn't have this much power, that Ron would be more involved on the offense is what you're hearing. I don't think that it's just I really don't think it's just a mentality of the way that he's speaking to people. I think that I think you can look at this offense and you can look at Terry not getting involved properly, Jahan not getting involved properly, Antonio Gibson being used and just however, which it doesn't seem like they know what Eric Bieniemy does not seem at all like he knows the personality he has. And I think that there's an element of that would rub anyone the wrong way.
And we've heard different people, I mean, even in the media, talk about, hey, it looks like Eric's running something regardless of how the defense is going to be lined up, regardless of what personnel we have. So it just lends itself to your point just now. I just wanted to make note of that. Before we go to the comment mailbag, K-Dot, one question, and of course, room for any final thoughts on the game from you. Is there any probability or any chance that Ron Rivera does get fired? Because it is a bye week. Do you see it happening? Do you see it as a possibility?
Do I see it? No.
Same.
I think that I think the door is closed on that. And that's based on the Josh Harris comments recently.
Yes.
It's based on the further we go along, I think they're just going to clean house. I don't think that Eric Bieniemy is a guy that, regardless of whatever reason, it doesn't feel as though he instills that confidence in the offense or that guys even believe in him or the system. That sounds very harsh, but it just is what I feel is true. And if you're Josh Harris, it doesn't make sense to switch up and lose even more terribly, where you can look at the games that are played right now, know that they're being outcoached, know that there's not really a lot of hope, but know that you can try your best to evaluate the talent that you're seeing right now, what their mental state is, for the next guys to come in and start making decisions on who's staying and who's going.
And we've mentioned a cost of inaction in the past where we've said, hey, it may be harder to evaluate these players if they are dejected, if they are checked out, stuff like that. But there is, when that CBS Sports article did come out, it made a lot of sense, right? Josh Harris is a new owner in the NFL. He does not want to be known as a guy that acts, in a rash manner, that acts off of his emotions.
David Tepper.
As we see. And then you hear about David Tepper wanting Ben Johnson as their head coach. And then it comes out that, hey, and we've known this, but Ben Johnson didn't even want to be their coach last season. So why would he want to this season after Frank Reich gets fired after just 11 games? So Josh Harris wants to avoid being the David Tepper. He wants to be able to say, hey, I will give you a full season. Even if it goes badly, I will give you your full time to be able to do what it is you need to be able to do. And on the subject of sounding harsh, K-Dot, the way the last few games have gone, it's not like this was going to be a sunshine and rainbows podcast. So like, you know, it's going to be everything you say. We're losing as badly as we are, right, on Thanksgiving, and now a 45-15 blowout on 10 days, you know, to be able to plan for this. Yeah, it's not going to sound pleasant. So that's that.
I don't disagree pretty much with anything you just said. I think this team has talent, and I think that there's been a want or desire over the course of this season to just say the players aren't good enough. I really do think a lot of this is on coaching and the mental state and confidence level of the locker room. I think that to me has been the number one reasons we have not lived up to any sort of expectations this year. The not being the hot-headed owner as far as Josh Harris keeping Ron Rivera and Eric Bieniemy and everything, the status quo, because Ron made the decision to fire Jack. Remember, if it was up to Josh Harris, Jack Del Rio would have been on the sidelines this week. If you look around the league, I remember reading about a poll that they did as far as front office executives throughout the league, like GMs and everything. And they were saying, what's the number one thing you look at if you're looking at what's the number one question you have as far as moving or potentially moving on to another team? The poll came back at like 90-something%. All said there was one thing more than any other: a meddling owner. It was the number one thing. And if you're looking at the teams that do the best overall in league as far as front offices that you're looking at, you're like, oh shit, these guys know what they're doing. Philadelphia, San Francisco, Baltimore, stability. You barely hear anything from the fucking owner. That's what's going to. We're starting to see some things change here that it's just so different than what we've ever experienced before. Even more different than Jack can't cook. Like, it's just going to be different. And I think that when Josh Harris said people need to be patient, that's got to be the number one thing in all of our heads is patience. It's not patience in the sense of like setting your expectations low, that there's going to be some 10-year trust the process bullshit, hold people accountable. But as of right now, we are just getting started. He took over the team at the worst possible time to install or to do anything different. You have to let the season ride out.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. And we are officially playing a long-term game here with some hope this time around. So let's go ahead and be optimistic in that regard. Going to go ahead to the comment mailbag where we have 7 comments, 3 from the Hawk TV, and we're going to go through. Yeah, so he has the first 2, or she, or they have the first 2 and then the most recent one. So we'll start with the first 2. The first one, get them likes up. The Hawk TV, we are trying, my friend. Appreciate that. The second one, what's up, District Divided? This game, in my opinion, will be a repeat of championship past where the Dolphins set the scoring record against us. St. Juste is a talented 3rd to 4th string cornerback, and Tyreek Hill will treat him as such. K-Dot, you can speak to who was guarding Tyreek Hill, although maybe he's so fast you couldn't even tell.
He went
but 5 catches, 157 yards, and 2 touchdowns would suggest that Tyreek Hill did, in fact, do what he wanted to do.
Yeah, I didn't see any defenders in the frame. It's hard to tell. Yeah, they had to zoom out to a point where the numbers didn't look like numbers.
Oh my gosh. And then we have one more from the Hawk TV. I also agree with K-Dot. We've wasted prime years of Terry's career. This actually came before the game. So the 0 catches for 0 yards, not great. He and Curtis Samuel are closer to 30 years of age than 21. Therefore, I would move on from both of them for draft capital. If the Seahawks, who had Metcalf and Lockett on their roster, still selected Jackson Smith and Jigba, we can stand to draft a receiver too. It'll be infuriating if the day comes and your most talented receiver is Jahan Dotson, talented player, but is he an AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb type of receiver? I think speaking, there's some interesting thoughts in there, K-Dot, from the Hawk TV. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I'm not. Every once in a while, a player comes around, and we've all experienced it here in Washington, where you get that feeling like, I wish they could go be successful somewhere. Like, I like this guy. I hope that they could just go do something somewhere else. The night and day vibe of the guys that always seem as though they were having the most fun and were the most vocal in the locker room last year or the years before compared to now, I don't know what the fuck is going on, but something's up.
Something's definitely up. And to speak to wanting to see players just go be happy and stuff like that, I was with Ridge Wear Your Helmet at just, a little while before this. And we were watching the 49ers Eagles game together, and he's watching this 49ers team with Deebo Samuel and Trent Williams, shout out. I mean, Kyle Shanahan's the coach. Chase Young's now there, and he just goes, I want to see Terry on this 49ers team because I think he'd be able to express himself and win those jump balls. And just, you would see Terry in a much, much nicer, happier situation for him. So it's not just you, it's a lot of people that are just like, man, it would be cool to see these players happy.
I will say this. I know that anyone could walk up the street and listen to what we just said and be like, well, no shit, Sherlock, they're losing games. Like,
of course.
I get that. But there's a vibe here where it just doesn't feel like anyone believes anything is possible.
Even before today, I haven't seen Terry as dejected as I've seen him.
He's just going through the motions.
Season.
It just feels like everybody's going through the motions. And I think what we saw in years prior with Jahan, last year with Jahan, and what we saw with Terry McLaurin, those are the rules. This is the exception. This year, and that to me is the number one reason why I'm okay with Eric Bieniemy going.
Fair enough.
Something happened to our guys.
The reason I went like this with my face is the moment you mentioned Jahan last season, and I know how much enthusiasm and how well he played as a rookie, and then you see him this season, it took the life out of me because I was like, oh no, is he about to say the same thing? Like, you almost get the organizational stink on you. We've talked about it, but now we're talking about the players and losing confidence and not being themselves. And yeah, it's a tough spot to be in.
I'm curious about this. How does anyone know how involved Josh Harris and the new guys are as far as making their presence down in Ashburn? Like, the players know him, or is this just like,
I would love to know as well. I suspect it's a bit more hands off this time around, but that's a great question, Kate. Maybe something you and I can look at. We got a bye week, so hey, we could do some investigative journalism here. And then we go over to Ridge Wear Your Helmet at, who writes the following: guy on the left looks like he's scared of an Oklahoma drill. Would you agree with that, Kate?
You. This asshole is referring to as a Thanksgiving football game in which I could not participate. And he kept wanting the fucking Oklahoma drill, like, you want to go heads up. And I was like, I was being nice about it in the sense of, if I went, I hurt my knee. And while I did want to play, it would have ruined the rest of the holiday. Everyone would have been very mad at me if I couldn't walk. So I didn't do it. So fuck you. I'm going to run that bitch ass out. I'm going to run that motherfucker.
I was just reading the comment, Kate. And then we go over to Thomas Alameda. Shout out. Appreciate it, because he's a Dolphins fan. And as a Dolphins fan, I appreciated this preview. Y'all had me laughing at times, and feel free to root for the Dolphins after this weekend going forward, at least for this season, at least to support your guy, Coach Mike McDrip. I have not heard the term Mike McDrip before, actually. Yeah. Have you?
Yeah.
You have?
I have.
It's actually kind of cool. I love that guy.
I mean, all right.
Thank you, Thomas, for the comment. Really appreciate
thanks,
that.
Really, that was awesome. Maybe tune in every once in a while, even for the after the pod, if you don't care about our team, but you like the vibe or whatever. Like, we're never really going to play the Dolphins for a while again, but you listen. But if you are listening to this part, because maybe you thought we would read your comment, I'm just curious. I've seen more Dolphins fans over this year than I've ever seen in my goddamn life. Like, they took over FedEx Field when they were in New York. I know it's a division game, but I've never seen more Dolphins fans fucking New York when they were playing the Jets. Like, it's getting fucking crazy as far as the amount of Dolphin fans that show. Is this because of Coach McDrip? Like, is this what's going on? Like, are you guys just the cool team? Like, how long have you been a fan? Like, I'm curious, because it just feels as though, is this the bandwagon, guys?
Are you part of the bandwagon, Thomas? I mean, it's a serious question. We got to figure this out.
I'm just curious, because Dolphins fans, I know they exist. I know it happens.
Oh, they're everywhere.
South Beach.
I guarantee you this is all Mike McDrip. Guarantee you. Oh, absolutely, because he's all over social media too. So they're like, wait, that's our coach. And then all of a sudden they see Tyreek Hill and they're like, you know what? This seems kind of fun. We should go ahead and root for this team. And we got 2 more comments. Shout out Blood Clot for both of them. The second one, because it's a bit shorter, Joe Alt better never move to right tackle. Appreciate that. Certainly don't
Nicely
want
done. Nicely
certainly
done.
don't want an alt-right tackle there. Unless he's really good. Who cares? And then we got one more for Blood Clot. What kind of records are the Dolphins going to break this game? We love giving opponents some records to break. What kind of meals are they going to have in the end zone? Christmas ham? This team has me delirious. Well, Blood Clot, I did not, again, see the game, but I did manage to see the roller coaster celebration, which was actually quite
That was
clever.
kind of cool.
I thought it was very good. And this time, after the Dak turkey leg thing, I felt much more desensitized to seeing that, where I was just like, okay, you know what? We suck. They're good. That's how it is. Simple as that. K-Dot.
Yeah, man. It's I didn't keep abreast of what records were being broke. It felt like Hill was gonna get his 2,000 receiving yards in the goddamn game. Did feel like that at one point. I'm gonna confession. I was having fun.
That's because your fantasy team's loaded with these Dolphins.
That is true. I also put a lot of money against Washington this game. Okay, fair enough. You put it all in perspective. All right, I'm done.
Could have told you that immediately. Anyway,
All right,
this
I was
was
having fun.
this was
I
the
let him
show.
celebrate. That boy run fast, don't he? I let Tua having fun. God damn. So I can't. So I live in Baltimore, but I'm talking to you. Live in Baltimore.
Yes.
I came down to DC. I come down to Mr. X, who's in the comments.
Yes.
Sometimes I watch the game over with him. He was not able to have me to watch the game because of somebody got sick. So I ended up last night. Brendan called me to ask if he could come and watch the game with me and Mr. X, and I said, I'm not even going to float this to Mr. X. I'm going to say probably not. And he's like, what? I was like, you're a Packers fan and we don't want to hear your shit. Like, it's just, we don't need to hear your shit. This is going to be an embarrassing loss and we're not going to be in the fucking mood for it.
Right.
He's like, okay, all right, cool, whatever. Fast forward to today, Mr. X cancels on me. I'm in DC. I don't have enough time to get back to Baltimore to watch the game. I have to call Brennan and ask, can I watch the game with him in his house? And I did. And we had fun. We just like he wasn't even talking any shit. I was talking more shit than he was talking. I just was, man, fuck this game.
The beauty of adjusted expectations when you are not directly involved.
And I'm not for tanking, but draft picks.
This is District Divided, a DC sports podcast, more specifically a Washington Commanders podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. And honestly, K-Dot, thank you, because I was allowed to be a listener today because I didn't get to see the game. I am Amit. That is K-Dot. Really appreciate you guys. Once again, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment as you always do. And K-Dot,
Draft Brock Bowers and share this shit.
Oh my God. We will see you guys. Oh, it's a bye week. I'm not going to lie. I don't know what we're going to do, but we'll try and keep you updated in some regard. Till then, see you later. Enjoy.
I guess.
In DC, we're just hoping that you listen.